Let's go. Take two. This is take two. Now the wife's microphone is on.
Hello.
Hello, honey. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. I always get so hot and nervous when I mess up recording. You have no idea. You get such PTSD from like doing 3-hour interviews and then it's not recording at all. It's crazy how scary it is. But it's not as scary as UFOs. That's what we're talking about today.
Segue.
Yeah, right? We're talking about the people who bring up UFOs, the whistleblowers, the brave men and seldom women.
Usually just men.
Yeah, usually just men.
Crazy ladies.
Yeah, because they're brave.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's why.
Men are brave.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Grush, Fravor, and a special person that I'm not going to bring up quite
special
yet.
Guest.
There's a special person who seems like he was right all along, and people thought he was crazy. I thought he was crazy. Rogan clearly thought he was crazy when he had him on the podcast. We're going to talk about that person later on in the podcast. And I was going to say let's get into it. But before we do, I got to bring you over to the store. You got to check out our latest design. Public enemy #1, the cricket connoisseur himself, Dr. Evil, or the inspiration for Dr. Evil. That's on IamCoachColin.com. We also have a certified pure blood shirt. Let me go over here. Certified pure blood. This is for those of you who survived the greatest psychological experiment known to man and are still unjabbed and proud. And then we also have the Great Resist shirt. Do not join the Great Reset. Join the Great Resist instead, because crickets are laced with parasites. All of that is on IamCoachColin.com. Do you know that there's actually parasites inside of crickets?
I just got shivers thinking about eating a cricket, period.
Apparently a lot of bugs have parasites.
I'm not surprised. Oh, I've seen like an ant parasite that literally like goes into their brain and makes them go crazy, and then it like grows a plant out of their head.
Yeah, like a mushroom.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I saw it. Yeah. And if you want 10% off of anything that you just saw and anything that you see when you're on the site, all you have to do is put in the discount code I am Coach Colin. That's all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name, Colin, and that gets you 10% off. And you have this lady to thank for that, because I would have never thought of doing that. Let's get into it.
I like giving people something.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I was so happy when you're like, we could do discount codes. I was like, what? I didn't think that'd be a thing.
Yeah. We can do lots of fun stuff.
I didn't think the store would be a thing, to be honest.
It is.
I never thought that would be able to happen. Really didn't. Thank you.
Thank you. We're doing it.
Yeah, let's go. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So
what do you have first? What do you want to...
Well, I just want to start with...
Opening remarks.
Yeah. So I started seeing people on Instagram saying, like, oh, the government admitting now that there's UFOs and aliens exist and stuff. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I didn't really understand until I looked up what was actually happening. What did you think when you first saw those kind of things coming out?
Well, as the pandemic was starting, there were a lot of people who were in tinfoil hat land, who were laying out how everything's going to go. And they were talking about how it's going to go from a pandemic like we had, and then after that would be a fake alien invasion, and after that, some people, not as many people as the fake alien invasion, some people said there would be a fake coming, the second coming of Christ. So very interesting, and it's right on time. So when I heard about them talking about aliens and the government actually accepting it and not brushing it off, I was like, oh, are they gonna fake it? And then you see things like Drake sitting down with his 13-year-old self in a hologram.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing concerts with all sorts of wild holograms that look very real. I don't know. I think we're at a point where they could make anything happen with the technology that they have. Because when I say Drake and concerts, that's a concert.
Yeah, that's very minor compared to what exists.
To what exists and what the military would have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been of the mindset of when I see some kind of technology, I'm like, wow, they gave this to us.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a breakthrough and the next thing they were like, we got to bring this to people. It was like,
No.
It happens like the military has it first.
And
they have
especially
it for a
because
while.
when civilians have it, it's for convenience.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't actually help the world or do anything. When consumers buy things, it is out of convenience.
Yes.
Or fun.
Yes. Yes. Let me just do this to your mic. Get your mic up. Oh, will it stay? Oh, don't worry, I got it. We're a complex studio here, guys. There it is. Boom.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, guys. Yes, you're 100% right.
So, like, the military's had things for at least a decade before we see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if you really watch, because that's what I do, I watch a lot of content, way more than anyone you know, way more than you, way more than like everybody. When you watch everything, because I watch a little bit of everything, I talk about Rogan a lot, but I watch a lot of different stuff. You saw person by person, platform by platform, just peppering in the conversation. Everyone from News Nation covering this a whole lot, to Tucker Carlson talking about it on the Full Send podcast, to Joe Rogan bringing it up, to, like, you just saw all these people just bringing it up very slowly. And I don't think that there is any control going on with these people, but it's interesting how it was just like person after person. But maybe it's because it was catching on, maybe because more and more people were talking about it. I mean, when I say Joe Rogan, he's been talking to people about UFOs for literally 12 years, 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
So I can't really, say anything about that, but I just noticed it kicking up more and more and more. And now we're pretty much at a point where everyone's saying, yes, they're real. I mean, when I say everyone, I mean Congress.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, the government is talking about it being real. And I just have this thing where it's just like, as soon as they start saying it's real, I'm like, I don't know. We'll see, guys. I don't know.
Well, the government likes you to think that they're right about everything, period.
True.
So if they're saying that something is real, then either it is or it's not, and they're going to make you think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the two options.
Exactly.
So something's going to happen.
Exactly.
They're not just going to like have those conversations and then nothing happens ever.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
It means something big will happen after.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, right? Like, yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit of a mind fuck there. Because, like, you want to believe it. Like, I'm a full believer. Just so anybody knows, I fully believe that there's aliens,
100%.
that there's other solar systems that are just as active as ours, if not more. There's species that are behind us in terms of technology, and there's species that are far, far beyond what we could even fathom. I really do think that. I think when it comes to I think it's our galaxy, like the whole thing, like we're in like the farmland of it.
Yeah.
When you look at it, like there's this whole teeming of light that we have no idea, we can't get to at all. We have no idea what's going on there, and then we're like in the boondocks.
True.
Like we're like in the swamp.
Would you want those aliens to come here though?
I don't know. If they're nice, sure. I want anybody. I would want nice people to come here. If they were nice.
Yeah.
If they were really nice and they gave us things, I'd be like, sure, come on.
I don't know. I think it's the same thing as like, I wouldn't go out and invite a random stranger off the street into our house because you don't know if they're nice.
Yeah.
So I feel that way about aliens. Is that I don't want them to come here at all because you don't know. And even if like we could communicate in some way and they seem nice, like it's a completely different civilization. You have no idea what their nice is.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what their nice is, and also you don't know how a misunderstanding can go.
Yeah. Because it'll happen so easily because it's just not at all even close to the same culture.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, it's like Rick and Morty. If you ever watch Rick and Morty, there was a thing where like Rick taught this other civilization that like the middle finger was like a good thing.
Yeah.
So like when he'd wave, he'd give them all the finger and they'd be like, hey, and they'd be all happy. And then they started doing it. And then I think someone who was like from Earth was like, what the, like they got mad because someone was giving the finger. I'm just saying, yeah, a misunderstanding could happen very easily. A misunderstanding could have already taken place. If what this gentleman is saying about having crafts and non-human biologics.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Maybe that's seen as a war crime.
True.
From that planet. And
True.
they're like, oh, these guys are barbarians.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
it could be like, imagine it was just like we always think of like it being like military aliens.
Yeah.
Like scouts coming to see us for nefarious reasons. What if they just do space travel for tourism?
Yeah,
What if
right.
we have just like someone's wife
Yeah, exactly.
and we won't give it back and
Yeah.
we're like holding it and experimenting? Like that's horrible.
Yeah. Ooh. Jesus. Yeah, right? Oh, someone's kid.
Yeah. Like that's awful.
Oof.
And we don't know.
And it's like it's like the Eric Trump of the planet. And their Trump is like real Trumpy.
Real
He's
Trumpy.
like, I'm not playing around. We're going to go
Yeah.
get those.
Not even like Trump, like Kissinger.
Yeah, like
Like
Putin.
a real evil dude.
Yeah, it's like Putin. It's like the Emperor of China.
Yeah.
He's like, we're just going to destroy their planet
Yeah. Done.
as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just head over there. I don't know. That's just us playing with our imaginations here, but there's actual stuff going on. There's
Yes.
actual people
Yeah.
talking. So what did you learn about that?
Well, the biggest thing everybody's talking about is this David Grush guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be kind of the main one.
Mm-hmm. There he
Who's
is.
talking. Yeah. He looks so untrustworthy.
Yeah.
He has like he looks like a lizard person. Like if there was going to be a lizard person, like he's one of them. He has like dead eyes.
Right?
He does not look friendly.
He does not seem... I thought that from the first time I seen him. And again, I'm a full-blown believer. But when I see this guy, I'm just like, I don't know. And especially the way he's talking.
Yeah.
When he's talking about it all.
Like
But
when you see in movies, like people say like, oh, like that guy looks like a narc. Like that guy
Yeah,
looks like a narc.
Yeah, right? Hello, children.
Yes.
3 drugs, please.
Yeah, exactly.
3 marijuanas, please.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Because I have this still image here. But this guy's been on Rogan plenty of times. I believe his name's Jeremy something or other. I can't remember his last name. But he's been on Rogan a couple of times talking about UFOs. This gentleman has also been on, I think they were on together, on Joe Rogan a few times.
And they're
Over
there
the-
front row.
Yeah, exactly. They're right with this guy. So it's very interesting to see. Like they are, like this guy is in good company. If you're going to like talk about UFOs, he's in very good company because this gentleman has been covering and making documentaries for a very long time. I want to say for like a decade. And this gentleman's been a researcher for even longer than that.
Yeah.
Very, very long. And when these guys talk on Rogan, they always talk about military personnel that they can't reveal the name of.
It's true.
And this
So it
gentleman
could've
could
been him.
easily be the person that they're talking about.
Yeah. Because something I read from one of the other like private interviews that he's done with like news services was that he's been trying to whistleblow for years, but there hasn't been proper channels to do so. And he didn't want to do anything illegal or anything that would like jeopardize his job or his life because he believes that people have been killed to cover this up.
So he's been trying for years. How does that work? Because if your life's in danger, once you try, now your life is like
I don't know. I think he was pretty like decently high up too.
Okay.
But he made comments about like talking to his commanding officer about like going through certain channels,
Okay.
and it just wasn't available at that point in time.
So maybe it's like, hey, can I talk about this? And they're like, negative.
Yeah.
Just do not. And he's just like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. He like it made him seem like a company man, and
I don't know. And then also, when it comes to like the distrust side, he's a company man.
exactly.
He's a company man to
And
the
then
agency.
all of a sudden, now conveniently, there's channels for him to go through,
Yeah, where there
and they
wasn't
picked
before.
somebody who may or may not have been trying for years to
Yeah.
do so.
Yeah, exactly. It's very
So it's just controlled.
very controlled. Very controlled. But here's the thing. Especially about this guy. This guy right here, he was on Rogan. The last time he was on Rogan, he was like, you know what happened? I saw an alien spaceship. I was right in front of it. And then Rogan's like, I think Rogan was right away. He's like, so you got film of it? He's like, did you film it? And the guy's like, you know what? I just decided.
Oh, it was that guy.
I just want to take it in. I just didn't want to film it. I just wanted to take it in and just look at it. He's like, I know it sounds crazy, but I just wanted to take it in. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you saying right now? Your whole life's work is UFOs and exposing that they exist. And when you saw one that
You
was
just
like
wanna
10
take it
feet
in.
away, You were like, I'm not even gonna pull out my phone right now.
Yeah, what an idiot. Like it would
Not
literally
me.
verify your entire life's work.
Yeah. Make it like.
And people call you a crackpot.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would like legitimize you.
It was crazy.
And it would be the biggest story ever.
I never get mad when I'm like listening to a podcast. That was the most frustrating thing.
Yeah, you told me about it right away.
I was like, "Are you serious?" I was so mad.
Yeah, you were like, listen.
I was so mad. I was like, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, it was crazy.
And Rogan likes these guys, so he's not gonna be like, "Listen, that sounds like complete bullshit." He's not gonna say that, but that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I wish I had the clip. I forgot about that. I only remembered it as I was looking at him.
That's funny.
But what about Grush? You want me to play a little bit of this?
No, I have some like main points from his testimony.
Okay.
Like the big ones. So he fully said the government is absolutely in possession of UAPs, which is their word for UFOs.
Okay.
So he said definitively, yes, they have them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also said the non-human biologics were found at crash sites.
Okay.
But which is weird because whenever somebody says like non-human, like he refused to say alien. Or extraterrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because, I don't know, they don't know 100% for sure. But like non-human is like any animal too.
Yeah.
So then
like I said to you, you can say non, like right now, all right? Again, we're just bouncing around in tinfoil hat land. But if you have a clone, you could, like when we have clones and it's like a thing for people to purchase, like a new Samsung, when we have that, they're going to be considered not human for a while. When we have AI walking around in robot bodies, they're going to be considered not human for a long time. And then they're going to be given rights. I think clones and AI, like they'll have the same civil rights type of thing where they'll be like, we are human. We're human. I come from this person. I'm almost like their son. I'm an exact copy of them. I'm human.
I think though when they talk about like biologics, a clone would be considered human biologics.
But I don't think so. I don't think it would be. I think right now you could classify that as non-human.
I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. Even if it is though, like it's still like the biological matter is human, came from humans, has human DNA, human tissue.
I guess you could say that. I have no idea. Because like you could, like you're making complete sense, but you could also be like, this is not human.
Yes, agreed. Like it's not like inherently human as we know it.
Yes, and when this whole thing first starts of like using clones like drones basically to go and like just go and do things, fly spaceships, crash, get found by people. They will look at it at first, especially the military, they'll be like, these are not humans. Okay, it came from this guy's body, grew him in a lab. This is not a human. This is M17, and we're using M17 for this journey, and that's it. I don't want to hear any talk about human.
Yeah,
like they will end up doing that.
They're gonna have like company watermarks on clone cells, so you can tell.
American flags, Chinese flags on their cells.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's something to think about. Right?
Yeah. But yeah, this guy was talking about how we need to establish a more transparent process for reporting these UAPs. And he was talking about how like stigma associated with reporting sightings silences possible witnesses, which is for sure true. Yeah. Like nobody wants to be labeled as a crazy person.
Of course. And that's what they do right away.
Yeah, for sure. And
let me play some of this. Let me see what they have going on, because this is from News Nation, of course. Let me just play this.
It's now reaching the far ends of our globe. This after his exclusive interview right here on News Nation. Grush speaking out once again, this time to the BBC. It comes just over a week after our report helped spark a historic hearing on Capitol Hill, which included testimony from Grush and 2 other former defense officials on what they have seen and experienced. In a moment, I'll speak with a former U.S. Navy officer about her experience as a pilot after several others in her field reported seeing a series of suspicious objects flying in highly restricted airspace over Arizona. But first, correspondent Evan Lambert is joining me live. Evan, Grush is responding to a statement from the head of the Pentagon's UFO office, responding to something that he said.
Nick Hias, this is a brand new interview with BBC Radio, and in it, we hear Grush push back against that top Pentagon official who called the congressional hearing on the subject of UFOs last week, quote, insulting, and then also said that Grush never worked for the office at the Pentagon that's responsible for investigating UFOs.
Dr. Kirkpatrick oversaw our activities and what we were doing and the money we were spending. I never said I was a part of the core team, so I believe it was just lost in translation or misconstrued.
Now, Grush first made his bombshell claims in an exclusive interview with News Nation in June. That led to an historic congressional hearing last week, where he testified under oath that he's aware of a secret U.S. government program involving the recovery and reverse engineering of non-human craft. The Pentagon has continued to say it hasn't found, quote, verifiable information to support Grush's claims. In the new interview, Grush also addresses that pushback, alleging that the culture of secrecy surrounding the Manhattan Project when the U.S. developed the atomic bomb also extends to UFOs.
Why, if it's true, has the government not acknowledged it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a multifaceted question. You know, it goes back, 80, 90 years ago when this was first created, and they, translated some of the secrecy from the Manhattan Project onto this subject because, they weren't sure how ontologically shocking it was going to be to the world populace. And then two, as you can imagine, it's a Pandora's box for, potential military and weapons development type reverse engineering activities. So they decided to keep it under wraps for many years.
And the chairman of the House Oversight.
So that's what he has to say about that. It's very, very interesting. And just so you know, like Newsmax, when Joe Rogan questioned Newsmax, whether it was real or not, he was introduced to a term called astroturfing, where it seems like, astroturf seems like real grass, like fake grass.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And they do that with media. So a media company will seem very real, but it's actually not. And it's actually like funded by the government in a sense. Almost like in Canada, CBC, it can be construed as astroturf because they get $1 billion a year from the government.
It is a government funded news agency.
It's kind of the same thing. And I kind of feel that way about News Nation. A little bit. Just a little bit. It's very odd that this pops up in so many feeds now. They haven't been around that long. And the one thing that they're focused on more than anything is the UFOs. I think that's very interesting.
Interesting. Like they're just trying to push that.
Yeah. Like very hard. And going back to what you said about proper channels, him not having the proper channels. Why is News Nation the proper channel?
That's true.
Like Congress makes sense. When I see Congress, I'm like, oh, okay, so he like went through the proper channels. Now he's in front of Congress.
Yeah.
But you went to News Nation first. You went to all these little media outlets first and then Congress. That doesn't seem like you took the proper channel.
I was trying to look up how a congressional hearing even starts, and I couldn't figure it out. Like, when do they decide to do a congressional hearing?
I bet they can't figure it out either.
Well, it's so strange because it's like there's been so many times in history, like recent history, where people have claimed UFO sightings and they didn't make a congressional hearing about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So why this guy? Why now?
Exactly.
Especially when he started with those little news places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, 100%. It's very odd to me. Again, I'm 100% a believer. Okay, I just have trouble believing this guy.
Yeah.
That's my main thing. But where are you going to go with this next?
I just wanted to comment that this guy also said that the money, like the funding for this secret organization that investigates UFOs is from misappropriated funds.
Oh.
Which is crazy because it just came out the Pentagon lost what? Like, how much money was it again? I forgot. 1.6 billion or something?
Well,
or was it 6 billion? I don't remember.
They mistakenly gave 6 billion to Ukraine. They like gave them $6 billion extra.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, just throw it in with the rest of it.
Yeah, but we've been hearing so much about misappropriated funds and like lost money in the budget, and they're like, oh well.
Yeah, that happens constantly.
And he's saying that's where it's going.
That's why I laughed when you said the Pentagon, because like, years ago, they lost $2.6 trillion.
Yeah.
They couldn't account for it.
Exactly.
So
It's
I
like
don't- I
all
don't
the
know.
time.
It could be that. Like, how
Yeah.
long does that $2.6 trillion last, right? And it makes sense. It could be going to like a program where it's like, yeah, let the public be upset, but we need to do this. Like, we're dealing with something beyond this world, you know, let the American people just deal with it.
Yeah.
Let them be upset. Like, who cares? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, we're saving their lives. They have no idea.
Yeah. Like they think it's for good.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody thinks it's for good when they're in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Where else were you going to go? Because the thing that I was going to say is, I don't trust this guy,
But you trust the other guy?
but I trust the other guy.
Yeah. One more thing. So this Grush guy claims to have viewed documents
Okay.
reporting that Benito Mussolini's government in 1933 recovered a non-human spacecraft, which the Vatican assisted the U.S. in procuring in 1944 or 45.
1933, you say?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have ever heard me talk about the number 33. I tell my friends all the time about the number 33. And whenever you see something happen, you can be sure that you will find the number 33 somewhere, whether it's the address of a place, or it's the number of bullets shot, or it's the number of people, or something. You'll always find something. And now this guy's bringing up 1933. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that was interesting. So he says he's claiming to have seen those documents himself.
Really?
Yeah. Like most
Grush.
of his testimony, is like, oh, a friend of a friend told me.
Yeah.
But this is like, no, I actually saw this.
And these documents were detailing aliens?
Detailing that Mussolini's government had a UFO and the Vatican helped the U.S. get it.
And then there's the other conspiracy that all this is a cover-up and the aliens are actually demons.
Oh, yeah. Or
I love that
demons
one.
are actually aliens.
Ooh, right. Like there's no aliens?
Yeah. Well, there's no demons. It's just aliens.
Oh, yeah, true.
And they've been here the entire time. And
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
they're
yeah.
in
And people are like, oh,
biblical stories and
that's
lore
why
and everything
that's why
else.
they can do fantastical things.
Yeah, because they're just aliens.
Whew, jeez. It's so hard to say because if I gave you like, everything technology wise and like dropped you in front of like an uncontacted tribe, they'd be like, you're a god.
Yeah.
They'd be like, your skin is white and your eyes, and they'd be like, what in the hell? And you're wearing these goggles, like they have no idea why, and you have these devices that are doing all these things. They'd be like, this is a god.
I wear glasses, guys, by the way.
This is a demigod. Yeah, she's not sitting there with goggles on.
I'd like to wear scuba gear,
But like they'd be like, you're a demigod. They'd be like, this is some kind of god or angel or thing. Like, and then like if I just dropped you as well, they'd be like,
Yeah.
drop from the sky.
True.
They'd be like, this is it.
I like parachute in.
Update the history books. This is crazy. This
There'd
is
be like
insane.
hieroglyphs of me.
Yeah, of course. I don't know. It's very interesting. But that's just like that's one of those conspiracies. That comes from like the religious sect. Like there's a conspiracy world and then there's like the religious conspiracy world, where they're like hip to like a lot. I have a friend that's like that, where he's just like Bigfoot, everything. He's like, in my house, it's all real, but he's like super Christian, that comes from like that side of conspiracy world,
Yeah.
just saying. But back to the guy I was talking about,
The
where is he?
trustworthy guy.
That's the thing. Grush is a new name. I'm like, who's this Grush person? I don't really care to hear from this Grush guy. But this gentleman, David Fravor, I've been hearing his name for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. I've been hearing this guy's name. And his story has been brought up on Rogan many times, has been brought up time and time again. Anytime you're talking about UFOs, anytime you're talking about having a debate whether there is lack of proof or if there's a lot of proof, he always pops up in the conversation. And this guy I actually trust. So I'm going to play a little bit of this guy talking about his story. Let's go here. Let's do it.
I want to first thank you for the invitation to speak to the committee on the UAP topic that has been in the news for the past 6 years and seems to be continuing to gain momentum. As you know, my name is David Fravor. I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world-famous Black Aces. We were attached to Carrier Wing 11, stationed on board the USS Nimitz, and had begun a 2-month workup cycle off the coast of California. On this day, we were scheduled for a 2v2 air-to-air training with the USS Princeton as our control. When we launched off Nimitz, my wingman was joining up. We were told that the training was going to be suspended and we were going to proceed with real-world tasking. As we proceeded to the west, the air controller was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller had told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space. We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves. So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All four of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping-pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the tic-tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the tic-tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the tic-tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to him, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested. What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken, and after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. It wasn't until 2009 till Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted, and I said no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and we talked for a short period of time, and he said we'd be in contact. A few weeks after that, I was made aware that Lou had left the Pentagon in protest and joined forces with Tom DeLong, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice, and others to form Two Stars Academy, an organization that pressed the issue with leading industry experts and U.S. government officials. They worked with Leslie Kean, who is present today, Ralph Blumenthal, and Helene Cooper to publish the articles in the New York Times 2017 New York Times. And it removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today. Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed. It has led to an interest from our elected officials who are not focused on little green men, but figuring out where these craft are, where they're from, the technology they possess, how do they operate. It also led to the Whistleblower Protection Act and the NDAA. There are multiple witnesses coming forward to say that have firsthand knowledge, and Mr. Grush just covered that. What concerns me is that there's no oversight from our elected officials on anything associated with our government processing or working on craft. Believe it not from this world. This issue is not a full public disclosure that could undermine national security, but it is about ensuring that our system of checks and balances works across all work done in the government using taxpayer funds. Relative to government programs, even unacknowledged WAVE programs have some level of oversight by the appropriate committee members in the House and Senate, and this work that is said to be occurring from whistleblower testimonies should not be exempt. In closing, I would like to say that the tic-tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time.
So that's him. And I believe him.
Yeah.
This is a story that has been talked about for years now. The fact that they were trying to track this thing, they were going around, and if people don't understand quite what he was saying, is that it came at him like as they were trying to pursue this this unidentified object that they didn't know what it was. The thing disappeared and it went to where they were going.
Yeah.
So somehow it knew exactly where they were going and it went right there. That's and the thing is, as much as you don't want to trust the government, it's like that story's been a long time coming. Has it all been set in motion, like planned out for years? I have no idea.
But you have to remember too, like this guy's a Navy commander, and in 2004 is when this happened, and he made a comment about how he was never asked about it. It was never investigated, and it was just like a story with friends.
Yeah.
So even somebody who's extremely reputable and isn't like going to media for personal gain isn't being questioned about their experience.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then he said 5 years later, finally somebody started asking questions. And one of the people who was asking him about it was a guy named Elizondo. Remember that name for later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And one name that he brought up, the person who, I guess I'm going to bring that up after, unless there's something more that you want to show or talk about.
No, I just like this guy. He seems like a nice neighbor. You know, like he could be like anybody's neighbor. And he's just like a good, nice guy. And he seems so like trustworthy too.
He is. And he does. And honestly, I never knew what he looked like.
Yeah,
I just
neither.
knew
Just knew the
Commander
story.
David Fravor. Anytime there was an argument about UFOs, somebody's going to bring that guy up, exactly what he went through, and they're going to be like, what's that? Because he was such a reputable person.
Yeah.
It was just like, why
And
would
still
this
is,
guy?
clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, why would this guy make that up? So I look at Grush and I'm like, I don't know if I believe this guy. You know, he's new and everything. Just pops up out of nowhere. He's in front of News Nation before he hits Congress. But then he's sitting right beside Commander David Fravor. So I'm like, again, like I said at the beginning, he's in good company.
Yeah.
He has all these well-known UFO people around. And for all we know, again, he could have been the person that they were talking about time and time again when they would be like, trust me, this guy would know.
Yeah.
Because every single time, whenever you're talking with one of these guys, whenever Rogan's talking with one of these guys, it's like, trust me, this guy would know. Even Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was like talking about something and he was like, trust me, this guy would know. Like this person would know.
That's crazy.
And you don't know who it is. It could be different people, but this guy, Grush, seems like he may have been one of them.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I don't know what everybody thinks. I don't know. But I will, unless you have something to say, I want to go to this
No, go
video
ahead.
here. This is a person named Tom DeLong. David Fravor brought up Tom DeLong, and that is shocking to me. Very shocking, because if you know about Rogan, then you know about this episode. This is episode 1029 with Tom DeLong. And Tom DeLong, throughout this episode, is talking about UFOs. He's talking about things he didn't want to bring up, things he would bring up. And Rogan was really pushing hard. And you could tell, I could tell at least, as somebody who's like watched every episode twice, Rogan did not believe this guy. He kept asking questions. He did not believe what this guy was saying.
For people who don't know, explain who Tom DeLong is.
Tom DeLong is the lead singer from Blink-182. And that's probably a huge reason why Rogan was just like, okay.
Yeah, okay, dude.
Like, you know.
Probably just like done too many drugs and
Right?
all crazy.
It's weird. Because it's like, why aren't you just making music? And he's like, oh no, I do this now. Like, this overtook my life. It's part of the reason why the group broke up. It's because this guy was just focused on this.
Interesting.
He just had to focus on this. There's even an episode where Rogan is talking with Travis Barker, who's also he's a drummer for Blink-182. And Travis is just like, he's just really into it. He's just really, really into it.
Wow.
But everybody who talks about him was talking about him like he was crazy. And he doesn't seem so crazy now.
Yeah. It's
It's like everything he was talking about being up around high military people who are afraid to talk, and he's the face of it all. Mm-hmm. He seems like he was telling the truth the whole time. It's
You want to
very
know who one
interesting.
of those high-up military people was?
Who?
Elizondo.
Oh, the guy that he just brought up?
Yeah.
Elizondo, really?
Is involved with Tom DeLong.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Tom DeLong, he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because you can go into, like, I should just go into these comments real quick.
And that's the guy who was, like, investigating David Fravor's claims. And now he's, like, with Tom DeLong's company.
Everyone thought Tom was crazy, but actually he explained this with sanity. Eerie to watch this years later and realize everything he was talking about. To communication role, visual proof, the rollout of the intel has been systematically happening through Tom. Wow, what? This is so crazy. This is so amazing. Yeah, these comments, man. But I guess I'll just play a little bit of this, unless you have something to say.
No, go ahead.
Like a movie where they sit in a machine and all of a sudden you're in the 1930s and you got to go save humanity. When you use the technology, there's a time difference between what they're doing inside of an artificially created bubble of gravity of sorts, and then what's on the outside. So if you're on the inside of one of those machines, everything would be skewed more black and white. There would be like a red shift, and everybody would look frozen. So you literally could fly around and grab a Coke out of someone's hand and put it in someone else's hand. It's really...
Where are you getting this from?
Well, take a wild guess. Look at the people I'm surrounded by, you know.
So the people you're surrounded by are telling you this? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but the people I'm surrounded with and myself, you know, are very close to this stuff. But the physics, you know, the physicist that's a co-founder of my company, To the Star, he's a Nobel nominee. He wrote the book on plasma physics.
What's his name?
Hal Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff. And he created remote viewing. Do you know what remote viewing is?
Yeah.
He's the creator of the CIA psychic spy program, but he also has done like really exotic, advanced forefront propulsion work for the past decades and decades. Actually, I mean, he's deep into the like quantum this and that. So he's the one that actually told me about the redshift. Yeah.
And so they have experienced this physically, or is this just theoretical, or they know that it exists? Like
the technology?
Yes.
I believe that the technology not only exists, we've figured out how to play with it, but I'm not going to really get into that here. What that is what we're doing at my company, though. That is the announcement. So Steve Justice was head of advanced programs at the Skunk Works, and the Skunk Works are who built, you know, the famous secret bases you hear about. Skunk Works did, you know, the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird, the F-117 stealth fighter, and
it's all Groom Lake out there,
all
right?
that kind of stuff. And he literally was in charge of all the advanced programs. So, you know, you got the boss, and you got him, and he came. He just finished his career over there within the past 2 months, I think it is, and he was on stage with me when we came out and said we're going to be building one of these things.
So when you say that all this technology exists, have they explained this to you, or have you seen it physically?
Oh, I haven't seen anything physically like that. I wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere if that does or doesn't exist.
So they've just explained to you that this exists. And that this is in the hands of the U.S. government?
I think no. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff, but if you don't mind.
But why is it that you want to not get into certain things?
Well, I don't want to you know, I represent more than myself these days.
Right.
So I definitely have to watch what I say.
Well, who do you represent when you say you represent more than yourself?
The team that I'm with. So when you look at the people that are a part of my company, it's Undersecretary of Defense and Senior Intelligence Service.
Is there a list of these people like that we could see?
Oh, yeah. I thought you guys would have had that.
Yeah, but I mean, is there like a list where folks could see it online?
Yeah, they can go to tothestarsacademy.com and scroll down, and you'll be able to see who they all are. So
how did you get linked up with all these people?
That story might be a better way to start, because a lot of people don't know this part of the story, and I think you're going to find it pretty fucking odd as well. But okay, so we'll back up a couple years. So I was obviously, you know.
So I don't want to get into the whole story and everything, because this is a long clip, and every single clip with him and Joe Rogan is very, very long. But that was just a little example of like Joe Rogan like being like, what's going on here?
He's like trying to like poke holes in the story, and even like his voice is so flat.
Yes.
Like normally when he's into something, he's so animated.
Yeah, he's wow, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But this, he's just like continuing to like ask questions in
Yeah.
a very flat voice.
He's like, what are we talking about? And he never
And how do you know that?
never brings it up in other episodes, like when talking about UFOs. Like he talks about UFOs all the time.
Yeah.
Never brings up Tom DeLonge because it seems like Tom's crazy.
It does. It does.
It really does. He's like, oh, I'm not going to get into that. And everything is, I'm not going to get into that. Like everything.
Yeah.
Every single thing is like, oh, I'm not going to get into that. But I
Which
will tell you
honestly
this.
is probably more respectable.
Yeah, I mean,
Because people who just like run their mouths, like they're probably making a lot of shit up.
well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing with him. He's talking for a very long time about something, and then where the answer would be to what he's saying, he's like, I don't want to get into that. And
Yeah.
I remember watching this episode like twice, and I was like, that's very frustrating.
Yeah,
Because
of
every
course.
single time it's like, here's the answer, and he's like, I don't want to get into that. And it's like, well then, like, what are you saying right now?
Yeah.
But now it seems like a lot of this stuff's coming to light. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing also. It's like, are you going to trust a bunch of guys who work for the government?
Yeah.
And just, and then again, because this is always a thing. And it's so funny. Someone who was just on Joe Rogan just said this. Mark Andreessen, this tech billionaire guy. He was saying, he's like, you have to listen for the call. He goes, when the call comes, like, because he's talking about like government and how it's gonna end up being a fight of sorts, not a violent fight, but like you got to fight for your rights kind of thing. He was like, anytime you're gonna hear, he's like, you'll know the call when you hear it because they will stand on podiums and talk about how this is for your safety
Yeah.
and how they're looking out for you. And it's very true. Every time something happens, it's always, this is going to be convenient for you. It's going to be safe for you. Like, this is the best way for us to keep you safe. And when it comes to this alien stuff, it's like, why are you coming forward? Well, it's like for the good of the public.
True.
Like all these government guys are all of a sudden concerned for the public.
All of a sudden.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because, you know, there's some good people working in the government for sure. There has to be.
Yeah.
There has to be, right?
And I love like even the people they put into the congressional committee on this. Like they put in AOC.
Oh, really?
She's there, yeah.
Oh,
which is like giving liberal credibility. Because typically the military and backing the military is a very kind of Republican stand.
Definitely.
And then you put AOC in there and she's all about like reform and whatever.
Yeah, she's about nonsense.
Exactly. But but when they're talking about needing like different processes for like reporting and things like that, like that's something I feel like she would jump right on because it's like reforming and creating transparency. And then everybody sees her in there doing that and it like brings the left and the right together.
Yes.
Where I feel like the left, if there wasn't somebody like that there, would just say, oh, this is just like Republican nonsense.
This is Republican QAnon MAGA Trump supporting nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they would say this is like middle America. Like it's always like rednecks who report UFOs.
This is a white supremacist conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
You got to block your ears from this one, people. Okay.
Exactly. Honestly, like we're making fun of it, but that's probably what would have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Without her there asking questions as like their leader.
Yeah. It's very, very, very hard to. Well, what else do you got? Because I got another thing I'm going to bring up eventually from someone who actually subscribed to the channel.
Oh, really?
Which blew my mind.
Oh, that's amazing.
Remember I told you, Eddie Bravo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when you say that. Like you've told me a million times, but.
What's going on, Eddie? if you're watching, what's going on? How you
Yeah.
doing?
But I just wanted to talk about, in all the articles I was reading about this congressional hearing,
Yeah.
it was talking about how this is the first time they've done it in decades. And I was like, wait. So this has been done before? So I was looking into it, and it was really, really hard to find any info because it was from 1955.
Okay.
I eventually found it. There was actually a congressional hearing from, I think it was a very long one, like over like a decade.
Really?
It started in 1955 and it was called Project Blue Book. So they were
really?
discussing this after, what is it? The Rosefield.
Roosevelt is a name.
No, the UFO incident. I'm forgetting the name right now.
Roswell.
Thank you.
Oh.
The Roswell incident. incident sparked this congressional hearing and investigation.
Really?
So they did the Blue Book Project, which was just looking and investigating a lot of UFO claims.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, what else happened at that time in history? Because we don't have a historical record for what's happening right now to be able to make those comparisons. But we do, of course, for what happened before. So looking at like timelines. So this hearing started in 1955, a month before the Vietnam War started. So that's kind of interesting.
True.
And then it ended in like 1969 when the moon landing was. So it's just interesting that it was like 2 very prominent years in history.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The distraction machine could run deep,
That's what I mean.
right? As soon as they've hooked onto their other thing. It was,
Yeah. Because if you think about the people's stance around 1955, most people still remembered the Second World War. Like it was only,
yeah.
it was less than 10 years
of course.
in the past.
Still feeling the effects of it in the economy.
Yeah. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to go to war with Vietnam. Like nobody was pro Vietnam War.
No, that's where the whole Laurel Canyon thing came in that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Where like the anti-war movement was a bunch of guys who, for lack of a better picturing, they were dressed and looked like Jordan Peterson. Just well-kept suits, glasses, like they just looked...
Yeah, like well-to-do men.
Yeah, and they were like anti-war. And then at some point, the conspiracy is that the military, high agency, government people, a lot of their kids became rock stars. A lot of people who were involved in the agencies or grew up on bases became rock stars. Jim Morrison was one of the bigger ones. And these guys were like long-haired hippie types,
Yeah.
you know? And they changed the anti-war movement from well-to-do men to like, you know, dirty hippies, as they would call them. And that actually guided the public to not want to side with people who were anti-war. Because when you looked at the anti-war crowd, it was like peace, love, all of them are high, no one's shaving their armpits, everybody has long scraggly beards, long hair, big afros. It was like, I don't want to be in the mix with these people.
Yeah. And even like that, those aren't my people. Like those people aren't like me.
Exactly.
Like I'm not going to think like them.
Exactly. So then from there, it gave the public I want to say they kind of felt right in supporting the war.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to be like those people. And then it gave the government, I guess, almost like consent to go through with this war in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So they say, because they all came from Laurel Canyon, and apparently there was a lot of odd stuff going on in Laurel Canyon from like the 60s to like the mid 70s. So supposedly.
And we all know there were a lot of like false flag operations going on in that time. With the Vietnam War starting, with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, yeah. But
everything.
That didn't actually happen, did it?
What?
Didn't JFK stop it?
Yeah.
He stopped it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But like even just like with the Cubans, like there were false flag operations.
Oh, they were
being
trying
done.
to do stuff with the Cubans.
Exactly. And just manipulate the opinion of the public of the United States.
Yeah. Which still goes on.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like even with this, like the UFO hearings back then, it could have been that kind of thing. Like we're going to manipulate the public through this as well.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is why I wanted to play what Eddie Bravo had to say, because he's always been huge into UFOs. He's always been huge into it. And
the Joe Rogan.
Oh, I don't know if I could play that part. Let's see what he has to say here.
No, the uninvited stuff is interesting.
What about the UFOs?
UFOs, it's Project Blue Beam.
We used to be all in on UFOs.
Dude, are you kidding? I was a UFO. Dude, I was the UFO.
Is there ice in there or no?
Yeah.
No, there's not.
Oh, good.
We don't have any ice.
Yeah, those ball ices are awesome.
Get some more ice? We'll get some more ice.
I got more whiskey here.
Do you remember when you and I first got into Zechariah Sitchin?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we were convinced.
Hell yeah.
The Anunnaki.
You know how I got into it? You know, I remember how we got into it, because remember Gina, the girl I used to make music with?
Yes.
She was like, she was, at some party, and we were working on some music. She goes, last night this guy told me about, there's this guy who wrote about some transcripts or something like that, and he said he was telling me that we're created by aliens to mine gold. And I remember like, and because it made sense to me, like wait a minute, we were Uriah Sitchin. Look him up. He wrote a book called.
Do you believe that whistleblower, like he's actually seeing the UFO?
I believe a lot of the people that see UFOs really believe they see it, and they just get set up. I think they're just.
But they're not seeing UFOs. They're seeing maybe a drone. They
exactly.
don't know the technology.
Holograms, drones, some high level shit. They're pushing it so hard. It's so obvious.
That's what's
so
weird,
fucking obvious.
Is that they're pushing it.
It's so obvious.
When it goes mainstream, I'm like, what's going on here? What
No,
are they trying
dude,
to
come
distract
on,
us
dog.
from?
And then at the same time, the Biden crime family shit's coming out, dog. All that shit where they said Rudy Giuliani was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He's a crackpot.
Yep.
2-3 years ago, they made him look like a fucking crackpot. And all he was doing, he goes, I got the laptop right here. We got it all right here. And the scariest part was they got 51 intelligence officers to sign off on it.
That's
that it's
crazy. How scary is that?
Scary. You had
That's
51
scary.
guys bullshit?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When they
scary. Scary.
They knew that it was legit in 2019.
Dude, scary. That's scary
That's
shit.
crazy.
Have you looked up the
And
laptop
what's
shit?
scary is no one is facing any repercussions.
Zero. He got a slap on
What
the
about all
wrist.
those guys?
Not just him. I'm talking about the people who told everyone that it was Russian disinformation.
So that was Eddie Bravo's little take on it, the whole distraction thing, because they're pushing it. And
Yeah.
Joe Rogan even said that. It's just weird that they're pushing it. And it is. It's very odd. It's very odd that they're going very hard, showing it quite a bit, and it's in the news cycle every week. It's not wearing away.
Too.
It's not wearing away at all. And when I see something that even extends into the mainstream media, it kind of just makes me think. Because those people have been almost like megaphones for the establishment for so long.
Yeah.
Like they're not journalists anymore. So when I see them all speaking in unison, especially when they're all speaking in unison about something, it becomes very hard to believe that it's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. What else you got?
No, that was it.
That was it?
That was it.
I don't know. What do you think? I think there are aliens.
I think everything they're saying is true.
Oh yeah? Okay.
I do. But I think why they're saying it needs more investigation.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for them to hide it since 1933 is the earliest documented they've been talking about.
Yeah, right.
This is 90 years. That was literally the year my grandma was born, 1933.
33 to 23.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There's no reason for them to all of a sudden now be discussing it with the public. Like they didn't have a change of heart. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no chance.
Yeah.
So something's going on. Why are they telling us now?
And also, Grush said, like, I believe in the clip that I played, he was talking about how they didn't know if the world's populace could handle it, and like what makes them think today that
there's no
people
difference.
are more capable.
If anything, people now are more like at arms with each other.
Yeah.
More like divided.
It would be like not a time to tell.
Exactly. Like we're battling too many other things right now.
Yeah. To handle that. I don't know. And, from the work of, I think it's Mateus Desmond, when he talks about mass formation, he talks about how people are constantly being demoralized, destabilized, and I think this is part of destabilization. I think this could become something where people are all very afraid. Again, if you're not going to be afraid of this whole thing, like if it ramps up and you're someone who's not afraid, you're going to be like, you're a part of the problem. You're making it terrible for the rest of us, just like they did years ago.
Yeah.
You're a part of the problem now. You're not afraid. You're not staying in your house.
True.
UFO lockdown.
Yeah.
And you're not staying in your house.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get the alien thing, and then you're going to give it to everybody else. Like, who knows? Who knows where it goes, right?
Yeah. I saw this Instagram video of a guy talking about why he doesn't care, and he made like a flow chart. I was laughing, and he was like, do I still have to go to work tomorrow? And it was like, yes or no. And he said, if it's yes, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he said, if it's no, the next question becomes, do I still have to pay my rent? Yes or no. If it's yes, I still don't care.
Yeah. True. That's very true.
And at the end of the day, if we're still going to work, we're still paying rent.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
The only thing that's actually a good point, because if you do still have to go to work, you do still have to pay your rent. Nothing has changed in that realm. then what does change? I guess the only thing that changes is your state of mind, your state of fear.
Yeah.
Like your fear gets elevated.
Exactly.
Your stress gets elevated. Because, again, when I talk about that guy talking about the gentleman who's done his work on mass formation, that's part of it. That's destabilization. Like when you're constantly stressed and you're getting it from both sides and there's work and there's this and there's that, you're constantly in this, for lack of a better word, this malleable state where people can push you and pull you certain ways, you know? And you're looking for something, and you start to become detached as you get scared, as you are in the state of fear. It's easy for you to become isolated.
Yeah,
that's why, like, people who are married, it's good because you always have that person there. When you have kids, family, like, you know, you're always
you have somebody to go to.
Yeah, you can't isolate. You can't do that. Who knows? It's either very real or it's a big distraction.
I think a bit of both.
Yeah, because even if it's real, it's still a big distraction,
Yeah.
right? The thing that Eddie brought up was, the whole Biden thing that's going on. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Nobody's
really talking about that.
No one's talking about. That's a huge thing.
It's massive.
It's huge. It's like worse than whatever happened with Nixon.
Yeah.
Like, it's really bad.
Every time we talk about the Biden thing now, though, I think of you reminding me that he's like 50, Hunter Biden.
Yeah, he's
and
not
I always picture him as like a little 18-year-old shithead.
Yeah, like he's 25 years old,
Yeah.
like Wolf of Wall Street type. No. He's 3 years younger than Joe Rogan.
It's crazy. Good Lord.
He is a grown man with grown kids.
And he uses his dad as business threats.
Yeah. Has his dad
Could
call.
you imagine?
That was going on when he was around our age, when he was doing that. And he's been doing that for years and years and years.
Oh, dear.
Because you have to think, I believe his business partner was talking about them being like 37 or 38. And he did it up until Biden was vice president.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
It's a long time of doing that. Nobody's talking about that. I think that's way, in a way, that's bigger. Unless the aliens are like here and they're like, we want to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I think what's going on with the president is way bigger.
Yeah.
I think so. Like immediate thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more here and now.
Yeah. Like you might have like a cousin, like that's far removed from the family that you barely know about, and there's something going on with them, and like that's fine. But like, what's going on with like your mom and your dad?
Yeah.
Like, immediate family first. So if there's something going on with the president, people should be watching that closer.
Yes.
Than what's going on with
what
like,
might be.
Yeah, with that long lost cousin that
is just saying.
You don't even know what their name is. You don't even know like how you're related.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
And maybe you're related.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
What are we going to do next?
Probably another psychology one. I like those.
Psychology. We can do psychology or we can do Anunnaki.
Both are good.
Yeah, we can do either one.
Well, we have a couple to do this weekend, so.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do another one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's get it done. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. That has been the UFO episode. Other than that, I am out.
Bye.